speak in tongues of man or of angels, but do not have love, I am only a resounding gong or a clanging cymbal. Oh, I've got love. He lives in me. If I speak in the tongues of man or of angels, but do not have love, I am only a resounding gong or a clanging cymbal. Oh, I've got love. He lives in me. If I speak in tongues of man or of angels, but do not have love, I am only a resounding gong or a clanging cymbal. Oh, I've got love. He lives in me. This podcast is supposed to be for people who have a desire to preach or share the word of God, not necessarily from a pastor perspective, but like evangelist perspective, like what we're doing on the mission trip. Yeah. So we're here with Samantha Foster. She was my right hand on the mission trip to Fort Worth, Texas, and yeah, we just had a good time serving the Lord together. That's our first time being on mission together. I can't think of another time, but it won't be the last. No. And I've worked with your husband before, and he was great at Falls Creek, and so now I'm just like completing the whole. So her children are in the youth, so I pastor them, and have become really good friends with her two oldest sons. But anyway, Samantha, will you tell us a little bit about just who you are? Just something you just share.
I'm Samantha, and I'm a sinner.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Just dive right in. Yes, I'm a sinner. Yeah.
Pretty much. I'm a sinner just like everyone else, and need Christ like everybody else. That's why I'm here. That's why I come to church. That's why I read every day. That's why I pray. That's why we're here.
Yeah.
And we're to share that, to give someone else the opportunity to do the same.
Yeah.
To have that outlet.
Yes. Exactly. You are a business owner.
Yes.
Yes. And what do you do?
I am a licensed massage therapist.
Let's go.
Yes.
So I was telling her the other day that my mother-in-law went to visit her. Not the first time though. The second time maybe.
I have no idea.
Yeah.
It's been a few.
Yeah. So she came to our house, me and Brittany, and she was just bragging how good she feels now and all this because she got a massage and everything. So, and then Tay, the fans who listen would probably know Tay because he's been on here several times preaching and stuff, and he's been there. He's a regular. So anyway, that's how we bridge the gap here. That's how we know each other. Anyway, so we went on a mission trip, and Samantha had an opportunity just to, stretch. What do you feel like as we're going into the mission trip, or the thinking about it, prepping for it, you thought would be challenges, good or bad, like things that you really want to tackle for yourself and your faith, or things you like, I really hope this doesn't happen on the mission trip?
Well, I have worked with homeless ministries before, just helping feed them, things like that. It wasn't as extensive as what we did in Texas. So the unknown was a little worrisome. Just you didn't know what you're going to come in contact with, who or what situations or anything like that. And we were taking our kids.
Right.
So it was kind of a little nerve-wracking with that. Being responsible for other people's children.
Right.
So I don't know how you guys do that. It was a little scary.
We just do it. Bless your mind, body, and soul, boy.
Yes, we'll just do it, and we survived. So, I'm willing to do it again. So I guess we're fine. But I don't know. I would say my biggest struggle has always been knowing what to say and not being in my own way of letting God speak through me.
Yeah.
So I was worrying if we would be enough, or if we would overwhelm them with too much information, because that's possible too.
Yeah, just like an individual, like you're sitting down at the table and you're talking to an individual. overwhelming them too much. Yes.
Yeah. Because you don't know what state they're in. You don't know what mindset they have. Like you don't know. And they explained all of that to us too. Like kind of, gave us a little bit of insight on what we were going to be doing and all of that. So that was helpful, but that was the worry. The biggest worry was just getting out of my own way in order to be used as a vessel to speak to them the way God wanted to.
I tell you that one of my biggest fear past the kids thing, like taking somebody else's kids. That's a legitimate thing. You got to pray about that over and over again. God, give me peace. But I confessed this to several people, and I might have shared this with you before we went, but I never really seen myself as an intellectual, but somehow I've arrived in that space, and I just wake up and I'm like, oh, I preach and I study for a living. I've never thought of myself that person. I was kind of like the athlete that got by off of athletics, but that was my biggest thing, is going into a place where the thing that I do best is teach and explain and articulate myself very well, the ideas and stuff I have. But what if I'm talking to a person that doesn't mean anything to them?
Right.
So you're sitting down with them, you're talking about theology, and they're just what is theology? And they're not even a student that they come to church because they care about God. They're a person who's a sinner on the streets that just here because they want to eat. How do I effectively give them the gospel, the bread of life? And that was a big fear of mine. Not being relevant to them and wanting desperately to be relevant to them. Yeah. Because I'm not food. You can't eat me.
Right. Yeah. Exactly. No, and I'm not a shower or a bed or anything like
and
that.
I'm not
shelter.
I'm not the drugs that you that you want. If that be the case. So it's just how do I remain relevant to them? Do you feel like it was a success that you sat across from someone, you shared with them, and they received what you had to give, to give?
So I feel like there are probably some situations where they didn't receive, but you can also look at it like this. What did we get out of that interaction with them? Because even though they might not have understood everything I said or accepted it or received it, still planted a seed. We know that. And then what can I learn from that to do better next time, or to change it, or whatever we need to do, or just to accept that maybe that's all they could handle at that time, or just to understand. And that's where my work and my knowledge kind of gets in the way a little bit, is because I understand so much about the brain and the body and how it connects. That I struggle a little bit with people's mindsets and not being able to understand what we're telling them, or want to understand what we're telling them. So I do struggle with that, but that's where each interaction that we have, I think we can take something from it, whether they do or not. God's not always speaking through us to them. Sometimes he's speaking through them to us.
Hey, there you go. Preach. That was important. I better write that down. Now, what'd you say now? That I preach. So that's great. And that's, one of my biggest hopes as I take people's kids, I kidnap them and take them on a mission trip.
Yes.
Some of them don't want to go. They want to go because they know it's good, but the unknown is very overwhelming. And I think one of my biggest prayers is that, Lord, if they're too afraid or in their own head to effectively communicate the gospel to someone else, maybe you can communicate the gospel better in the situation back to them. Maybe they can understand how blessed they are through the situation that they're in, or just seeing someone else's life. So a lot of it is God communicating kind of in a whisper, a moment back to us, that we're loved, that we're cherished, that you're blessed to even hear the word of God, or to
be able to receive it yourself. To be able to understand what we understand. Because I couldn't imagine seeing them on the streets and seeing how some of them, spoke and things like that. Just the way that they are now. And there's no judgment there. It's a fact. It's what we see. Putting yourself in that. Could you imagine being there and not having your mind work right or understand, anything. So that's scary.
It is scary.
But it's something to think about so you can care a little bit more. Like, okay, I understand they're going through this. And just pray about that. Like, God will give them what they need and let them hear what they need to hear.
Right. I do believe that. It was one of my friends I met there. He was one of my prayer partners. Mm-hmm. So just so you guys know, there were people who worked there that were from the streets. They were homeless at one time, and they're going through a discipleship program. And yeah, they learn how to follow Jesus through working alongside people who follow Jesus. So Thomas was his name, and I hope he doesn't mind me mentioning his name. But anyway, he kind of just shared with me that he said that he met Jesus in a jail cell, and that no one really told him, no one really shared the gospel with him, like, just clear. But in this place, he was laying on his mat in the jail cell, and he said God contacted him, reached out to him in like some kind of a dream vision type thing. He seen a lit figure, and the person touched him, and he had his mind back. He was talking about, like, he said he remembered not knowing what was going to happen to him in his trial and all that stuff he had to go through, and then waking up in that moment and realizing all the things that was going to happen to him and having peace about it. And also, he said he knew of a person who shared the gospel at their little break time or whatever, and he remembered leaning into the conversation and wanting to know more after that experience. And so it's like, definitely God touched him, and it wasn't a person with a whole bunch of knowledge that shared. It was just God making his mind capable of knowing, unlocking his mind, if you will. So that's just really cool. So that's, for us, I guess we just know next time, make sure we just get out of our own way. Don't even think that God can't use us or not use us.
Right.
Or speak to us, even though we're trying to speak to them. God can speak to us, We just need to be humble and ready, So thanks for that. We share that. I think that was a struggle for me. It always is. So another question: your initial thoughts going into the ministry. Were there anything that you just felt like, just about the trip, the physicality of the trip?
Besides driving in Texas,
the driving in Texas. That's kind of what I'm getting at. I didn't want to say it.
That was crazy.
I had some initial thoughts about Texas. I've never been really and just been there and just kind of camped out or whatever. But I've been through, and every time the traffic was horrible, So I had some initial thoughts. But what were your have you ever had any experiences in Texas, like hanging out there?
Yeah, we went to San Antonio for a vacation when Isaac was really little.
Yeah.
I mean, I knew the driving was crazy.
Yeah.
And all of that, and just a long trip. But I wasn't too worried about all of that. I just knew we'd get through it. But goodness, when we were doing it,
yeah,
GPS switching everywhere we went,
yeah,
split up 3 or 4 times.
Yeah.
Like, I knew we would all end up at the same place, but we all took different routes.
Though,
right?
is the question.
Different routes.
So I don't know, if you live in Texas and you listen to this, you might be used to that, but not me. Nope. I'm from little town in Mississippi where everybody drives slow and you don't have to put your blinker on because
you don't have 5 highways going from each other and circling around.
And then you were in contact with Beautiful Feet. Mm-hmm. That was the ministry that was working through. Yes. And did you have any like preconceived things based off of just what you heard and what you was like, how you were communicating with I think Sarah, yeah. Anything that you just thought, this is how I feel like it's gonna go?
Honestly, I don't think my brain went to that. No, it was just kind of, let's see what happens. Yeah, no expectations. With that, more of just kind of an open mind. Yeah. Definitely expectations with like our interactions with other people, but yeah, still not too many with that.
Yeah. Did they not blow your mind?
That was amazing.
Like when you first got there, I don't know. I got separated from you guys again by a highway, by the road between. I was locking the gate, and so all you guys went over before me to the church. But when I got there, I just felt like I was at home. You feel that? You felt that too?
Absolutely.
Yeah, they didn't initiate you and nothing like that. They tried to initiate me.
They did it in their own way, but no, no, they were all very helpful and it's very welcoming, and just they cared. Like you could tell.
Yeah.
So And they wanted us there. Like, they were happy we were there. They were excited for the kids to learn. Like,
Right.
it was really good.
I thought, yeah, that Texas hospitality was showing. It didn't really show at the mall because I tried to share with somebody and they were not kind.
No, they weren't. No.
But the people at the ministry were very, very kind. Do you have any favorite people?
No, he didn't.
Pam was a favorite.
Pam? Yeah.
Pam was definitely a favorite just because she had been through so much, and she's showing the people on the street, hey, I've been here and I'm where I am now because of Christ. And so she's able to just share it so much more because she's been where they are.
Yeah.
But then I love her because she was very just down to earth about everything too. She was to the point, and she didn't let anyone run her over. Yeah. And I love that about people, because that's a struggle of mine, is, being too quiet and just accepting things. And so, seeing her be strong, even though she had an addiction before and had her struggles before, she was still able to be strong in what she believed and how she ran things. Yeah. And I love that.
And that is something that's of the Spirit right there.
Yes, it's like, absolutely.
Without addictions, those kind of addiction, I guess, but without addictions, you have a certain shame about ministry and doing things in the name of Jesus. You're like, I'm not worthy. But to have an addiction and then God redeem you from that, I can't imagine how you must have to pray constantly for you realize I'm not worthy of this. I need to carry it the best way I can. And that's without shame. Because if you're a person that doesn't know her, that doesn't know her past, and she doesn't act like that, like she's joyous in the Lord, you begin to wonder, like, do you even know him? But it's easy for a person, I think, to live in that shame, to kind of like Adam and Eve, hide themselves from God and from others. But no, she wasn't like that. And she was very outspoken. I love how she connected with me just right off the bat. Like, I felt like
she's kind of spunky.
You want to hear something kind of spunky? I instantly realized that she was very comfortable with me and even my blackness, and I thought that was very refreshing. And then I sat down with her and I realized she told me that she had a daughter, and that her daughter was black. And I thought, wow, that's cool. Like, there's a lot of connection here that's happening, and I didn't even know. Like, and it just I guess what I'm trying to say, it made me feel very at home, And I think that some people can hear her. What is it? She's just raw. She's just real. That's the word. Just real. And I think some people can be kind of taken back by that. That she's instantly playful. Yeah. That she's instantly your friend.
It can be intimidating.
It can be kind of intimidating. Yeah.
I love that.
I know.
It makes me feel at home. It makes me feel like...
Exactly.
It's a really good icebreaker when someone's just like kind of over the top a little bit, just like, hey, and just bringing you in. But it lets you leave everything at the door. Right. Lets you just leave any burdens or any stress that's there, like, and you're just locked into the joyousness that she's bringing. Like, and her daughter blessed us with her voice. Yes. Can't forget about that. That was really cool. So anyway, Pam, she was one of my favorites too. I really did like Pastor Mike.
Right?
Yes, he.
He's different.
I adore him. God used him to draw me out of my shell.
So let's talk about that real quick, right? That's a good segue into this next.
The challenge.
Yeah, the challenge. Yeah. So what was your biggest challenge on the trip?
So I'm not a big speaker. I don't know, just letting go of control would have been one of the big things, like letting go of not wanting to speak or not wanting to be in certain situations, like trying to prevent God from using me. Just my flesh. It was definitely just my flesh. Yeah. But as a mom and a massage therapist, like, I'm the one that's usually taking care of people and like fixing things. And like, I'm like behind the scenes and doing all that. That's what I know. Yeah. So for God to use me to speak in front of people and to do those things. That was a challenge for me. But I accepted it.
You did.
And I felt like I got out of my own way. Like that's the whole this week has been, that's what that's been for me. It's just getting out of my own way and just letting God use me as a vessel.
Let me ask you something. And you just be straight up. Was it hard? I did not see that it was hard for you. But how much of a challenge was it for you in your mind? Like, how much did you have to like
prep for it,
bend and like say, get out of the way, Samantha? Like, you know what I'm saying? Like,
honestly, not as many as I thought I would have. And I think it's because of where we were. So like, when we're home and we're in our everyday jobs, it's a little bit harder. I feel like I have to fight a little bit harder to be like, hey, no, that's not the right thought. You need to think a little differently here. What's a different perspective?
Right.
So just a few times, but just by having the support and having like Pastor Mike was so excited about it and just knowing what we could do with what he was asking us to do and just praying about it though. And God being like, hey, here you go. This is what I want. And just getting my thoughts out in a script and being able to preach that to people was very good. I don't do well with that, but I'm glad that you couldn't tell. So
no. And part of Will He Preach is about the preparation.
Yes.
Because I can like Tay preaching or myself preaching. You hear the presentation, you hear what we've prepared to do, but the journey to get to that point, people don't really know.
It's
behind the scenes stuff. Yeah. And sometimes it's a real mental block. Like how did you do it? Like just let's walk through. What did he ask you to do? Because I don't know. He asked me. He came up to me and was like, "Hey, will your helper help like she did the other day?" I was like, "Sure."
So the first time he just had me driving a car and moving around. This time he wanted me to get up and talk.
Yeah, so wait, the car thing was Samantha and a kid, Aiden, one of our students. And I'm so glad God used him in that because Aiden is a very rambunctious and annoying person.
No, he didn't.
He'll let you know himself. But it was cool to see him using that energy in a positive way.
Yes.
He was in the spotlight. He kind of likes that. But he was actually Jesus to other people.
Yes.
Really, like physically. He was like dressed up like a cool Jesus. And they were driving. There's Pastor Mike was doing like a skit. He's singing this song. While it wasn't very good, but the message was great. And you guys were like switching and during the song, like from driver to passenger. That was kind of the gist of it. Basically, Jesus take the wheel. But the other skit, that's the one that he asked me about. I volunteered you for. Just thought, I should do it. And you had to do a little bit more. Like it's a bigger crowd, different crowd. And Sunday morning. Go ahead, go.
So he asked me to do it. I said okay. I just kind of prayed about it, did a little reading, and let my mind go to work and threw some stuff out there. I was able to coordinate a little bit, and we had so it was about road signs, and about the wrong way, U-turn, all of that stuff, and just how it leads to Jesus, and like how we can use that as a sign in a message. And so I made it pretty funny because I thought people would relate well to that. Because if you can make someone laugh, they're going to remember.
So you did all the dialogue. You did all the
dialogue.
You did all that. You made that up.
Yeah.
Wow.
Well, I use the internet a little bit, but
Yeah. Well, you gotta use our tools.
Yes, we do.
That's awesome. Good. I remember I didn't get to see you guys in live, but I watched it back, and I was just like, and the video recording is kind of like the recording is good, but I can't really hear that well.
There's a lot of echo. Yeah.
But I was like, wow. This is good. And I told you remind me of a comedian. Like you're about to...
Which is funny because I'm not a speaker, but I mean, I've done the training for it. I just don't enjoy doing it. But it can be done. So.
Isn't that crazy? I thought about that when I was watching the video. I was like, I know she's trained to do this, but not this.
Right.
But God used that little training,
That speech class.
That speech class. You don't know how often I think about my speech class in college, like
or three speech classes, I guess. Yeah.
I never thought I'd be preaching. It's like knees knocking together, scared. But no, I thought it was awesome. So thanks for blessing us all with that. So let's move like to this. Your kids. This is gonna bless me for you to talk about this. So what did you think about like seeing your kids, seeing your boys, your little boys? I mean, they're your babies. Yeah, your babies. Yeah. I can't wait for Mila and them to. I mean, she already does in a lot of ways, yeah.
But when it clicks, they step out. Like, yeah.
So talk about it a little bit.
Oh, goodness. It was just beautiful. I mean, Isaac's kind of a quiet guy, and he's kind of does his own thing, but he's in church all the time, and he does speak when he's asked, and I love that about him. That was encouraging to me because I'm like, I know that he doesn't enjoy this either, but he does it, and he does well, but it's from the heart, and you can just see it, and so that was very heartwarming for me, and to just kind of see everything I know he's been learning and all the work that God's done in him, like see it come out and hopefully bless someone else. And then Cade has always been a prayer warrior. Always, since he was like 3. Yeah. And so to hear him really like pray from the heart and bless an older generation, like that really kind of touched me. Wow. Because you don't see that much. Right. Or I haven't. Yeah, you don't. And then my youngest got to go with us as well. Yeah. He's 11. So that was a little more of a challenge, but I think he got a lot from it too. Yeah. We got to use the experience in a few different ways for him and see, he got to learn what goes on and like what to be what's expected of us and, what to expect in the future. Yeah. So that is awesome. I mean, it was a little scary in some situations, Why? Well, because you don't, like on the street, when we went to the street evangelism. Yeah. And so I got separated from my 2 older kids and Cody. And I was on the bus. We had to go back to the church because someone broke in or something. That's right. That's right. And someone broke in was gonna steal Dean's guitar. Right, I know. And that's right. You were. Yeah, I'm freaking out. Yeah, and so you're freaking out about your kids being on the street. My kids who a guitar. That's replaceable. My kids are not. So that was a little nerve-wracking, but at the same time, I definitely felt God put kind of like a blanket of peace over me. Yeah. Like, hey, they're with good people. They're doing my work. That's kind of what it was. Is they're doing my work. They're fine. Preach. Yeah. So I was able to go back on the bus and then come back, and the kids got on and they told me what happened, and it was great. Yeah. So it was in that sense getting out of your own way as well when letting your kids do God's work. I didn't even think about that. Like as a parent, I remember with Bella and just her mom struggling to release her to this. And praise God, Bella was awesome on this trip. She grew a lot just in those few days. Yeah, but I didn't think about that for you. I was thinking about like the good, happy moments where you see Isaac or even Kate at the mall sharing with that black guy. Yes. He was bald like me, so he probably was just comfortable talking to him. I mean, he was though. He was just going, and like even at the point where like the guy was, you kind of tell he was done, but Kay just kept going. Yeah, he's like, I'm gonna. Kay had his like arms folded over there, like he was like in it. But I was thinking, I was thinking about those moments for you, those kind of like here's your flower moments, your flowers. But I wasn't thinking about like the times where you had to leave them or they were out of your sight, and you just kind of like, okay, God. I can't be Mother Bear because I'm not there. Right. It's just you. So I let them go to Falls Creek and other camps and things like that. So I've been able to do that and be fine because I know who they're with and everything. Yeah. So this was a little bit different. Like I now know that I would be okay with them going without me because I trust God's work. Yeah. So. And that's awesome. So thank you for sending them because I've learned this in doing ministry. Like I get ministered to by the people who I'm trying to lead. When they do things to just let me know, like I heard the lesson, I heard what you said, and I'm following you as you follow Christ. That encourages me like over the top. When Isaac shares at Falls Creek, so I don't have to speak. And I love to speak, but I don't have to because Isaac's like, I'll share. Or he submits a song that he wants to do. And he's like, and I always ask the question, why? And he said, victory in Jesus. And he tells me why and the connection that he has to that song. And it's just like, man, that's a blessing to me. So thank you. You're welcome.
Thank you for leading your family and even you're setting a trend of missions that's important to your family. You and Daniel, your husband, like are setting a tone that your kids will never forget.
Right.
It's like missions are important.
They are.
So last question. What amazes you the most about God today?
How personal he is.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, he sees someone in that alley or on the side of the road,
Yeah.
on that street, just as clearly as he does somebody in the pew.
Yeah. Yeah.
Or somebody up preaching his word.
Right.
Anything. He sees us all the same.
Right.
So
I know in my message, which was Psalm 33, and I went like 13 to 22, the verses, and I was talking about how God is looking, and when God is looking, it's looking good. That God sees everybody, even the goldfish that you flushed down
yes.
the toilet when you were a kid. It's like God noticed. Nothing goes unnoticed with God. He's paid attention to details. He's in the details, and those people who are hungry, there is a feast waiting for them, and that's in Christ Jesus, and they can have that now. We can have that now. I think we ate a feast on this trip, and it wasn't food. It wasn't like what we would take into our mouth, but it was really what we take into our heart. Preach. And I think about the first words as we pulled into that area. One of the kids jokingly said, "Oh, there's a hobo." I'm just like, first of all, who says hobo these days? But anyway, well,
I do if my kid's dressed like one.
But... right. But I'm like, the insensitivity there. It's just like, okay, I can see how you're beyond that, but what comes out of your mouth is what's in your heart,
Yeah.
So, but then the transformation to after.
You won't hear them say that again.
Yeah. Well, you might, but they won't say it in the same heart mindset.
No.
You don't forget the guy you talked to at the table that is in that situation because they got a divorce. Oh. And like, they're not here because they were on drugs, strung out on drugs. They got strung out on drugs because they got a divorce. They loved and they lost.
Love, lost,
and then this is the result.
Yes.
And this can happen to any of us. This type of stuff can happen. Go ahead.
Well, I mean, there was a few people I talked to that were veterans.
Yeah.
And they're on the streets because they're not getting enough help. They just can't make it. And then there were some that it was medical reasons and things like that. Mental health issues is a major one. So yeah, it's all kinds of things. And we can all lose everything in an instant.
Yeah.
I mean, so.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's not none of it.
Always a choice. It's all the choices that we make, but it's not always something that we can control.
Yeah.
And I think once we have that perspective and we don't judge them so harshly, you can see what God wants you to see or who he sees.
Good. Well, good. That is all I have. Do you have any questions for me? Like, why'd you miss the exit?
Oh my gosh.
Why'd you?
No, you say thank you for not killing me.
Yeah. There was one moment I've been telling people about how in this I learned this from driving. I don't know where. I guess Texas, maybe. Putting your nose out there.
Yes.
Right. So we're in line in a long line of traffic, and the only reason we haven't missed our exit is because this traffic has stopped. Right. So we would have missed it.
We would have.
Samantha is sitting next to me in the passenger side, and you're not usually there. No. Usually it's Katie. So this is new for you. She's not in control. She can't control anything. And so the exit is right there. We need to cross over like three lanes, because Anyway, there's zooming traffic to the right of us. And I tell Samantha, look, we need to put our nose out there. we need to put our nose out there because we'll never get out. So the traffic slows a little bit, and I begin to ease my nose out. Samantha's like, no, don't do it. Like, we got to do it. We got to do this. So sure enough, like 4 or 5 cars zoom by, probably making Samantha feel like they're going to just run her Because you're the only person gonna die in that situation.
Yes. Take me right out.
But then the traffic kind of slowed. They seen my blinker on and everything.
They saw me freaking out.
Saw you freaking out. And they let us in, and by the grace of God, we made it to our destination.
Yes.
But I think let me wrap this up. Okay. I think that in this situation, and that's a funny situation, but like we can get really busy with life. And I think, kind of like the highways that we travel, we can just be going to our destination, not thinking about God wanting us to take an exit. God wants to take an exit and see the hobo on the side of the road and like notice him, stop at the red light and see the woman come off the curb too early, angry, and you notice these people in their struggle. But oftentimes we'll just be on the highway flying. But sometimes God stops the traffic, and we're mad at him because we're stopping. You're stopping me. But he stops the traffic, and now we can actually take that exit. But there's a risk we have to take. We need to fight the flow. Right? There's a whole flow of our life and people around us that's beckoning us to go further, go on, go past the exit. So, Siri, God says you need to take this exit. So, what do you have to do? You gotta put your nose out there, And really, what that translates to is like you gotta put your heart out there. You gotta use some of that intellect that God gave you in this area for this other work that He has for you, and it's uncomfortable. But He's the one that stops the traffic. He's the one that stops that flow. He's the one that allows you to put your nose out there and then gives you the exit to take. And then He's the one that gets you to the beautiful feet location. And He's the one that does all the work. And He just asks us to be obedient. Yep. That's it.
This kind of boils down to He's the mission.
He's the mission. Yeah. His glory being known, that is the whole goal.
Yep, that's the mission.
Yeah. Yep. Beautiful feet. So thank you, Samantha, and
thanks for having me.
Appreciate you. And we gotta do this again. So I'm taking Daniel to Falls Creek, and so we gotta figure out maybe Beautiful Feet would be our ministry. We'll just go together. I'm gonna set up another time. We just go.
Yeah, that works for me.
And
I like that. I would love to go back.
I'll take the young adults next time.
That would be fun.
Yeah.
They would do good.
They would.
They'd benefit from that. Yeah.
I think so. So anyway, thank you.
Thanks, guys.
Deuces.